We are now live on YouTube, and I'll welcome all the participants. Good afternoon. We'll take another 2 minutes to start. It's 3:28 by my watch, and we will start at 3:30 sharp. One of the things which I've learned, Vivek, which hopefully India is learning, is Swiss time. So hopefully our classes and our meetings are starting on time, which is so amazing. So,
Yes.
Vivek and I, Deepthi ma'am, were in a beautiful webinar with Ambassador Vishnu Pratap, and he was talking about the most critical thing for India, and he called it the P thing. Vivek, you want to tell us what the P thing is?
Yeah, so he said the P factor. He said P factor is the punctuality factor. He said if everyone can be there by 12:59, we can start instead of 1 p.m. He says 1 minute early, and then that means everybody is punctual in time. And he was very right. And even I myself get delayed many a time. And it's very, very good to have a habit of punctuality and discipline. The thing of discipline, actually.
So talking about discipline and punctuality, we are now at 3:30. And if Vivek, you allow, let me give a quick introduction and then I'll hand it over to Deepthi ma'am for introducing the school. If you allow me, Vivek.
Yeah, sure.
So once again, good afternoon, teachers, and good afternoon, everyone on this beautiful webinar today. My name is Atul Khosla. I am the Pro Vice Chancellor and founder of Shulini University, Kasole Hills, Himachal Pradesh. The topic today is going to be effective online learning. The world has changed post-COVID. Online had already touched us, but we as teachers or as students or as parents never took online that seriously. And I think two things very interestingly happened, Vivek. One is in the teaching world, in the student world, K-12 world, Byju's happened or was happening, but Byju's became a big force. And then COVID happened. And I think suddenly everyone is talking about online. It has become a reality. The question really is online there to stay? Is online going to fizzle out, post classes starting? My opinion is that online is there to stay. There are huge benefits, but there's a blended model that's needed. Topic for today is not to talk about whether online will stay or not. Topic for today is it is so difficult to engage with students anyway. How do you go about making online learning fun and engaging for our students? And who could be better than Vivek Atre talking to us today? Welcome, Vivek, to this webinar. Vivek is an ex-IAS officer. He's also been Director IT for the UT administration. I call him the brain behind the IT Park of Chandigarh, which is so beautiful, and a feather in the cap of the beautiful city of Chandigarh. He's a TEDx speaker. To me, a very dear friend and also a faculty at Shulini University. So thank you, Vivek, for being here today. We also have Deepthi ma'am here. She's a senior counselor or a coordinator, I think, with the school. And Deepthi ma'am will introduce the school for us before we get into this wonderful discussion. Quick introduction about me. Like I said, my name is Atul. I'm a BTech from IIT Kanpur and MBA post that, and was actually into consulting for many, many years, worked across the world, and I'm a very happy teacher now. So with these words, I once again welcome all of you, and I'm going to hand it over to Deepthi ma'am, and then Vivek for this beautiful discussion. Deepthi Lakhanpal.
Thank you so much, sir. I am Deepthi Lakhanpal from Ajit Karam Singh International Public School, that is AXIPS 45 Smart School. The school is located in Sector 45A, Chandigarh, and is affiliated to CBSE. Dear teachers, these days we all are striving hard and making tremendous efforts in order to keep the process of teaching learning to be effective and fruitful. Switching on entirely to the technology and virtual contact with the students has become the new normal. Besides laborious efforts, we all are facing everyday new challenges. In order to help us in this process, today we have amongst us two great pioneers who will help us sail smoothly during these rough times. So on behalf of entire Accept Spotify, I welcome the invited speakers for today's webinar. Mr. Vivek Atre, former IAS, author, advisor, motivational speaker, and visiting professor, Shulini University, and Professor Atul Khosla, entrepreneur and educationist, founder and pro vice chancellor, Shulini University. Before we begin, let me highlight their achievements in detail once again. Professor Khosla is experienced in new innovative academic programs, transforming a traditional system to new methodologies of pedagogy and initiating skill-based curricula. Professor has been an entrepreneur for more than 15 years and has founded and led multiple new initiatives. In addition, he advises several Indian and global organizations on issues of strategy, operations, and innovations. Talking of Mr. Atre, he is the founder of Suvichar think tank. He is also a founder of Vibrant Networking Forum and the Chandigarh Literary Society. He speaks regularly on the nuances of leadership, good governance, life skills, people skills, public speaking, and meditation, etc. He has inspired thousands of youngsters to adopt a cheerful, positive, and multidimensional approach. Today, they will be guiding us about the best practices for online classes. Can we have the pleasure of listening to you, sir?
Thank you, Deepthi ma'am. And as you were speaking and you were introducing us, Deepthi, uh, I thought of a small idea, Vivek. We've been doing so much amazing work at Shulani on online. Can I play a small video just to lay the
Go
context
ahead.
for why we
Absolutely.
think?
Please, sir,
Absolutely.
please,
Please do
our
so.
pleasure.
So much relevant to the topic.
Absolutely. So this is a little bit about the work that we're doing at Shulani and online. Here it is.
Innovation is born out of a culture of excellence. And over the past decade, Shulini University has built an unrivaled culture of excellence and innovation. Back in April 2013, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam inaugurated eUniv, our e-learning initiative, way before most other universities had even begun thinking digital. So when COVID-19 disrupted the regular classes, we were ready with the digital tools and systems to deliver a high-quality classroom experience online. We started our online classes on eUniv just a week after the lockdown and completed our semester with online proctored examinations. eUniv runs on our robust seamless learning management system, Learnance. Learnance is powered by AI with interactive video lectures, adaptive learning, and analytics. Our AI technology, Sikandar, has been shortlisted for the Times Higher Education Asia Awards 2020 for outstanding student support and the QS iGOG Elite Certification of Excellence in Online Learning. We chose the path less traveled in 2013. In 2020, we continue to be the trailblazers. Shulini University. Think e-learning. Think success.
So Vivek, it's been 7 years of online learning and teaching for us. Vivek has personally, I think, done more than 100 webinars. Today, this is today my 198th webinar. So I love every moment of being online. So, before we get into the discussion and you take over, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, if you allow me, Vivek. First of all, your belief on this online versus offline debate. I think that's one question I'd love to, you to answer. Do you see teachers continuing with online in some form or the other when COVID gets over? That's one. The second is, I know it's very difficult, so do try to bring in how do you engage with students as you build sort of online learning into the students. So let's get into the discussion. Vivek, over to you. I'll come in between. I'd love to show some inspirational videos. I've also got some thoughts on technology and how you sort of make it happen. So I wanted to tell the teachers over here that, at Shulani, we've been working on this thinking for the last 7-8 years. Online is not the same as teaching offline. It's not about taking your classes over the web. It's way more sophisticated than that. It's about having the right scientific tools and also having the right scientific instruction design and the right scientific thinking to make it successful. but Vivek Atre will talk more about it. Over to you, Vivek.
Thank you, Atul, and wonderful to be once again at Ideas That Matter, a series of webinars that Shulini University has organized with Atul and me mainly, and Kamal and Shikha providing the support. Deepti ma'am and all the teachers who are present from ASCIP's 45 school, wonderful to be with you, and wonderful. I think I visited your school when I was in UT administration, though I don't recall. But it is familiar and I know about the school. So it's very nice to meet you all online. And maybe one day Atul and I will actually come and meet you in your school, hopefully when we are all back. Yes, thank you. So what Atul mentioned is actually the important point of discussion, two of them. He mentioned whether technology is here to stay, and secondly, how to make ourselves effective with technology. So that's the topic of today anyway. So firstly, see, what is happening is that technology is taking a lot of our burden off us, if you look at it. The smartphone thinks a lot for us. It calculates for us. It remembers telephone numbers. It gives us reminders, messages. So technology in the shape of a computer or a smartphone has already been a part of our lives. Earlier times, we would note down all telephone numbers. We would wait at a railway station wondering when that person will arrive. Whereas now the phone comes and I'm reaching in 10 minutes. I'm standing near the ATM. I am here, I am there. So technology is so much a part of our lives, and it is facilitating things. It is enabling us to live easier, better lives in many ways. Secondly, when we are forced to do something, then obviously we are resistant to that. Atul mentioned that Shulini University has already been carrying out online programs for 7 years. So when something like this happens, Shulini is already doing it, it's ready, and it is able to adapt to the new change very quickly. So what is required is that we should be balanced. What is the balance required? When classes are allowed and we go back to school, then we must go back. We must be present in the class. We must teach in the class. And when safety has been declared that it is safe to go and meet and mingle and play for children, then they should play together. They should rub shoulders. They should sit together. They should be in an assembly, in the tiffin, whatever we grew up with and you teachers grew up with. And even these children were doing till last year or 6 months ago. They should continue with that whenever required, whenever allowed, and whenever possible. Because the impact that a speaker or a teacher has one-to-one in front of an audience, when you look into the eye, when you smile, when you even touch the shoulder of a child, that well done, that is an impact which is not possible online. There are so many things which are not possible online, which are only possible in the classroom, or in the assembly hall, or in the games period, or in the tiffin time, or which are in the school. So that hopefully will come by, and we will be back in school. Everybody will go back to school to do all these things that we are used to doing. Now, what is technology bringing us? Technology is bringing us another way of interacting, another way of doing the same thing. If we were not able to use this technology, and if COVID was there, then what would we have done? Maybe 6 to 8 months would have been spoiled in doing nothing. It is because these electronic video meetings are possible that we are able to do cover syllabus. We are able to somehow meet, e-meet, carry out these webinars and discuss these issues. 10 years ago, had COVID happened, we would not have been able to. So we have a facility in place which is taking care of this era and the problems of this era. So we should welcome it. Welcome it because it is present, it is available, and we should try to make the best of it. What is the best of it? We have to know that this technology-related teaching will stay for some time. Along with classroom teaching also, it will stay. So there are going to be times when you will have only online class and times when you'll be in school. There'll be some classes recorded, some live. There'll be some programs recorded, some live. And there'll be some programs where you'll be sitting in the hall, students, and they'll be sitting, and in some programs, they won't be sitting in the hall, they'll be online. So as Atul used the term, blended learning, and blended living is the normal now. So we have to get into that, and we have to get into that habit of getting into blended ways of doing things. So if we are into that phenomena and that paradigm and that new culture, then what are we to do? Supposing you are holding a class for children online, you are speaking to them. What is the same as the classroom? One thing which is the same is that the teacher is speaking and the students are listening, should be listening. That is one thing which is in common. It is not like somebody else has become the speaker. The teacher is still the speaker. And in class also, the teacher is the main speaker. Then secondly, you are imparting instruction to the children. It is not like you are carrying out normally, carrying out a one-to-one parlay or one-to-one exchange. It is a group of children who are listening to one teacher. That is basically what it is. Secondly, it is your preparation which will shine through. Whether you are in the class or on a camera, there are certain things which are common. I'll come to those points which are difficult on camera, where you're facing difficulties. I'll come to those. But certain things which are common are, you have to prepare your lecture. You have to prepare your class. You have to know the subject. You have to know the chapter. You have to know what to say over there. That is common. In the school also, it would have been the same, and here also. You cannot go to a class of even class 10 or 11, let's say, senior students, without knowing the topic. Maybe in an alphabet or numbers class in a nursery level, you can go without preparation. But at senior levels, you cannot. You have to revise the chapter or know the chapter by heart or whatever. So the topic has to be very familiar to you, and the content has to be absolutely on your tips. Lastly, you also have to make sure that you are engaging the students. Engaging the students in the class or online, they have to be engaged. Now, engagement is where you are facing a problem. You are facing a problem, and many teachers have told us, Atul and me, that we face a problem that children are not attentive. Even now I saw a question. Children are not listening. Children are otherwise not there. So in a classroom, that is not normally the case. There may be a naughty child who's going on talking. There may be a couple of children who don't listen or who are always scribbling or doing something looking at the back. There may be naughty children. But you are in control of your class because you are physically present. You can walk up to that child or children and correct them. Here you are challenged in that because the children are either not visible to you, or they are not present, or they are remote from where you are. So what is to be done? Let us get the first three basics right. Your instruction ability, your content preparation, and your ability to involve the students. Now, if we are going there in the online classroom, being ourselves, preparing well, speaking well, confidently, calmly, without losing control of ourselves, and going there and speaking just like we would have in the lecture hall or the classroom, we will do pretty well. There are a few additional things you can do to keep their attention. Firstly, you need to start naming the students and asking them questions, and they have to respond. You have to tell them that I'll be asking you one by one. You have to say, Arushi, please tell me the answer of this. Or Siddharth, please tell me the answer of this. So by name, if you ask the children, they are to respond. That instruction has to be available with them, and they have to answer. I would encourage videos to be on. Atul has also instructed his Shulini students to have videos on. And videos on would mean that they cannot be here and there. But if your school follows a no video policy, even then, you can name the student and ask a question. You can have a quiz at the end of each class or in the middle of each class to break the monotony. Have points accumulated. Points, okay, supposing Siddharth got 6 points in this class quiz and Arushi got 8 points. Next time they are carried over, you have noted them somewhere or some child has noted them. And next time the 8 becomes 20 and 6 becomes 14, whatever it is. The boys are always behind the girls. So you carry on with the same program, and it becomes much more easy to do so. So I'm going to request Atul to come in at this point. When I come back, I'll continue with this, how you engage the students and how you make your talk and your lecture online more interesting. Atul, your ideas.
Thank you, Vivek. Before we sort of get into the discussion, I wanted to show a small video, Shulani, because you spoke about how the touch is so important and we're missing that touch. So I'm very lucky I am on campus. I think in a university, you're lucky that there are campuses. Unfortunately, the students are not here and the students keep on writing us that, we want to be back. But just about that touch and feel, I'd like to get into that, and we'll then talk a little bit about the whole topic. I just need to pull out that video. I'm so sorry, it's not there. So give me 1 second. Here it is. So can I play it, Vivek?
Sure.
So this will show us why the touch and feel is so critical. So that's the power of visuals, Vivek, and that's the power of touch and feel. It smells so good when you're outside in the mountains, and whatever you do, however good your video is, you can't feel and can't smell and can't just get that same experience. But the fact of the matter is that technology and online is there to stay. So what do we do to make ourselves more effective? I'm going to leave 3 thoughts with you teachers over here. My first thought is, like Vivek said, the toolkit is very important. So if the basic tools are not there, how do you teach properly? So I think it's almost like a hygiene factor. So what are the tools? I'll quickly go through that. First, of course, you need a great internet connection. So if you don't have one, if you're just using a mobile, please go and buy an internet connection. Geo fiber is very good. Airtel has got their own fiber. BSNL has also got fiber, but fiber is very important. Fiber is line connected onto your computer. Otherwise, it can be disruptive. Wi-Fi platforms tend to be unstable. So that's the first most critical thing, Vivek. The second is mobile phones are way more difficult to engage. Need a laptop. So if you don't have one, teachers, do invest in a laptop. It's very, very important. It's like the toolkit, right? I mean, I always tell my teachers, if you think about a carpenter has the randa, has the saw, Vivek, they come with a toolkit. Why would a teacher not have his or her own toolkit? And that toolkit has to be, like I said, a quality computer, a webcam to make sure that your resolution is of high quality, a mic, like I have over here to make sure that your sound is of the right quality. And lastly, a Wi-Fi. Now there are tricks that you can also do so you can keep experimenting, Vivek. I discovered yesterday that my cell phone can actually become a webcam. So today I'm actually going online using my iPhone. It's a application called Epoch Cam, EPOCCAM, where my phone can become a webcam, and the resolution is absolutely perfect. It's now high definition resolution. But there's so much around, learn to experiment how to give a great online lecture. I also learned of a technique called light boarding, Vivek. So basically what you do is you put a glass screen in between the camera and you can actually write on that glass screen, and it gives the students the engagement, unlike if you're writing at the back, because then they're seeing your back, so they can see your face. And then you can invert it using technology, because otherwise, like you'll see over here, the alphabets are inverted. I don't know, are they inverted here or are they clear? Can you
It's
read
clear.
something?
They're clear.
Oh, they're clear. Okay. So, but normally, so I would have inverted it. Normally, when you write something on a glass screen, it's inverted. So, point I wanted to make is, number one, invest in a toolkit, teacher. Secondly, just experiment. There's huge amount of stuff on how to give good lectures, etc., on YouTube. Also, get yourself certified, because next time your principal might just ask you, "Are you certified on online learning?" There are platforms like Coursera, like Udemy, like edX, which are right now giving free certifications. These are platforms from top universities like Harvard and the likes, Vivek. So get yourself certified from top players. We can help you if you need that at Shulani. Like I said, you've been doing this for years. We can run a special certification for your school if that's needed. And last but not the least, your smile and the clothes you wear are so important place where you sit. So Vivek and I, for example, decided 3 months back that our background needs to be proper. We've also decided that when two of us are speaking, the height of our heads needs to be the same. We sort of sometimes also try to coordinate our shirts. Actually, we don't. I'm just joking. It just happens that we're wearing blue again, though you inserted a bit of white on that, Vivek. So the thing is that, like all of you beautiful teachers wear beautiful saris and lovely bindis when you go to school, please make sure you're doing this, you're having the same smile and you're looking as gorgeous as you always do. Or if you're male, then you're wearing a lovely shirt in front of the students. So these are basic hygiene things. The important thing, of course, is to experiment, because no one knows how to give a great online lecture. A couple of more things you can do. You can bring in gaming into your platform. So you can give games to your students to play, to engage with them. I've done that quite a bit. So you can use technology for that, Vivek. You can play, for example, Ludo. You give a right answer, you move ahead. You give a wrong answer, you go back. These are very interesting things that you can do. You can play snakes and ladders. You can play Space Invaders. Many of these tools are there pretty much free of cost, which are available if you sort of search the internet. So gaming is a very, very important tool. Whiteboarding is a very important tool I discovered yesterday. Basically, what we do in whiteboarding, Vivek, is that we will share a whiteboard with each student. And I have a whiteboard. So I can, on my whiteboard, write what is 2 plus 2. As an example, if it's a nursery class student or a KG, I don't know 2 plus 2 is taught in which class, I apologize. Then each student has a whiteboard which the teacher can see, but the student can't see others' whiteboard. So they'll keep on writing the answers on the whiteboard. It's an amazing tool to engage. And again, it's free. It's a whiteboard. Just type whiteboarding for online and you'll get platforms over there, and you can integrate them into your Zoom class or whichever other platform you're using. So the point, Vivek, is yes, you can't touch and feel, but technology also plays a great role. Through technology, you can make your teaching actually more effective. You can make your teaching, you can engage with the students in a different way. But more importantly, you can also provide analytics. For example, if you've got 20 different subjects and you're giving quizzes and assessments over the internet, you can actually analyze which are the areas where students are weak, which are the areas where students are really good at. I call it bringing Google Maps on to learning. And let me share this point, Vivek, in a second. So in Google Maps, which all of us use, we know the starting point, we know the end point, and you know how much time it's going to take from point A to point B, because Google uses analytics to do that and gives you the best way. The same thing through analytics, you can do that on online learning. And I'll be very happy to help the school if they want to do this, where you can know the starting point of learning, where the student is today, where the student wants to be, where you want the student to be at the end, and you can have individual learning paths for each student, Vivek. And I think technology can really revolutionize learning. But of course, we can't replace the touch, because touch and smell are things that, at least at the moment, are not replicated over online. So those are my thoughts. Quick recap: have your toolkit in place, Wi-Fi, computer, microphone, right softwares. Always be seated properly with the right shirt, right sari, right smile, right background. And lastly, just go out and experiment. Go and see lots and lots of videos, train yourself on online learning, and it's going to become fun. So it's my 198th webinar. Vivek has done, I think, 100 plus 2, and we love being in front of the computer every day. And every time we try to experiment also in the way we deliver a webinar. Over to you, Vivek.
Thank you, Atul. Great thoughts, very nice inputs. I think you covered everything there is to cover in this particular topic. And teachers, if they adopt even half of these tricks and practices, they'll do very, very well. The internet connection, the presence, the backdrop, the preparation, the dressing up, and all these things are important. So you have to take it as if it is a formal lecture, which it is, and you have to go dressed up and ready. And be prepared to be there 5 minutes, 10 minutes before. Set up your camera, set up your place, and try and prepare yourself so that you do very well. Now, let me also say that there are a few points which must be kept in mind while speaking. And these are public speaking skills which are relevant whether you are online or you are in the class. Firstly, your voice has to be strong enough to be heard, and teachers' voices are typically strong enough. Secondly, you have to intonate, to bring in intonation whenever required. Be a little louder when you are quoting somebody or when you are saying something important, and normal speech has to be there at other times. Then also bring in some humor, some story, some anecdote. It could be even, I heard Principal Jeevan of DAV College's old principal, who's recently was in a webinar with us. He said, I used to tell stories even in my chemistry lectures. So he says in class, so here online, engaging the students by storytelling is, in most subjects, it is possible. Chemistry, I don't know how he did it, but definitely in history or English or law, I mean, not law, but Hindi or whatever you are teaching, humanities especially, it is very much possible. And even in science, you can, in physics, etc., tell them stories about great inventors, great stories like Thomas Alva Edison, how many times he failed before the electric light bulb was invented by him. So there are so many things to tell, tales which will help you. And these children are hungry for stories, even if they are grown up a little. Their storytelling will help you to become a more loved and more popular teacher. And if you are more popular in the class, there's no reason for you to become less popular here, less engaging here. The engaging speaker will be engaging in class as well as in front of the camera. So maybe it's time to increase and expand your speaking skills in terms of being louder, in terms of your content, in terms of your anecdotes and your humor, and also in terms of some preparation which is so authentic that you go according to the structure. You know when to tell your story, you know when I'm going to say this, and when I'm going to ask questions of the children. So you should know that at this point, after 12 minutes, I'm going to suddenly ask, or I'm going to prepare that, okay, Ankita, you tell me this. So, okay, Mohit, you tell me this. So that is something in which you can prepare yourself. And then, as Atul said, gaming and quizzes and applications and videos also help. Another thing is to not make your lecture overly long. So know when to stop, get into a Q&A after that, and know when to interact. Because one way is not going to work. It has to be two-way. It has to be interactive. And questions and answers and engagements will make them, because we often discuss here, Atul and I, that the span of attention of any human being online, how much can it be? It's going to be 20 minutes, 25 minutes max. So after that, you have to keep them engaged, and that is very, very important. So I think we have some questions, Atul. Why don't we take those?
Absolutely.
The aim is to help them.
You only said, Vivek, we should know when to stop. So
absolutely,
it's time to stop. Right? I have a couple of points here, which you rightly said. A typical quality online lecture is not more than 20 minutes, or a class. So if your class was earlier 40 minutes, then make it 20 minutes. I think even CBSE has come up with some guidelines in line with that, though they're saying 30 minutes. We encourage 20 minutes as the right amount of time, Vivek, for an online lecture. The human mind just cannot absorb more than that. I think what we missed was, yeah, absolutely. Span of pre-primary is 5 to 8 minutes. So true, Bhavna ma'am. Absolutely. So I'll just leave two more thoughts over here. One is the use of videos. So use a lot of videos in your teaching. Lots of great stuff on YouTube that you can leverage on. You can use. Please learn how to make your own videos. You all, can become very famous too. You can have amazing number of likes on your videos if you have those ambitions. And by the way, all of your actors now in front of the camera, and it's not just the students are seeing you, it's the Nana, Nani, Dada, Dadi, as Vivek says, who are also watching you. So that's one. Use a lot of videos, use a lot of innovation. And I think the second thing which I would like to mention over here is instruction design. It's not about just taking the offline class online. That's not the way it works. It's a big different topic on how do you do instruction design. But in the online world, how you deliver the lecture is different. A lot of the work has to be given to the student in an asynchronous way, which means they have to be given a lot of assignments to be done. They can do it way better. And final area is about building communities, Vivek. So while teacher to student activity is happening still quite a bit, I think formal student to student discussion also needs to happen, because students are getting lost, they're getting stressed out. I was so surprised in a webinar the other day. Students were saying, we are so stressed out. Some were saying, we want to kill ourselves. It was crazy. So do start a counseling number. Do build a 24/7 counseling number. I think it's very, very important for our students. We have done that, Vivek. 10 of our faculty members have created a common number. It's open 24/7 for students, and students are calling all the time. So I would encourage teachers to volunteer for that, not just for the counselors, but for the teachers to start counseling students. So I think these are very, very important tools in today's world. Some of them are hygiene factors, and some of them are things that you can really improve and engage with the students. So let's go to Q&A, Vivek. A few questions over here. And I think there is one question: how do you carry practical activities online? You want to talk about that, Vivek, or should I pick it up?
I'll maybe both of us can. So basically, practical activities have to be in the form of, obviously, if you have to show some objects, like I have a book here, which I normally show. I got an excuse now to show it. This is the autobiography of a yogi, which is my favorite book, Atul's favorite. And we follow and read the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. So when you have to carry out an activity, you need your props to be ready. You need your books or your objects or whatever it is. And maybe some practical activity also involves everybody does their homework initially. So everybody has to have that book ready or that whiteboard ready or whatever it is, so that they can participate in an activity. It has to be planned much in advance. Cannot be done at the last minute. Atul?
Absolutely. I think one is there are certain softwares in some areas that you can use. I'm not a strong believer, and we still don't know, Vivek. I was in a discussion with the Vice Chancellor of Cambridge University only yesterday. We were talking about how do we do practicals, and the conclusion was that we still don't know the answer, but let's not even attempt. Probably one approach you can do is you can share the theory of the practicals with the students, but once the schools open, and that's the time to sort of go out and do the practicals in a more concentrated way, because you have to feel things. But there are certain things, Vivek, that can be done. Let me explain. Yes, the chemistry practicals can't be done, but let's say biology practicals can be done. For example, you can give an assignment to your students to say, if you're teaching cereals, for example, CER, not SER, but CEREALS, grains. So you can say, okay, can you collect all the different grains that are there in the market, and can you name them, and then can you go to the internet and can you trace their history, etc. So a lot of stuff, when the teacher wants, they can actually create practicals for the students. Certain set of practicals, of course, can't be done. I mean, physics practicals or chemistry practicals are much, much more difficult. Practicals and things like economics can be done actually more beautifully. For example, I'm giving my MBA students a practical where I'm saying there's a concept of GDP. For the economics people, is the gross domestic product of a country or a locality or something. So I just gave this exercise to my MBA students saying, can you go and determine the GDP of your mohalla? Go and do that. And amazing results, because students are coming back and now they understand the concept of GDP rather than just roting it. Now they've gone out and understood the revenue of every shop in their locality. They've added it up. Of course, some of them are right, some of them are wrong, but what a beautiful exercise to do. So you can be innovative and you can do more exciting things, Vivek. But wait for the classes to reopen for true classical practicals to happen that we understand as practicals. We also have now ma'am with us, so we'll also ask ma'am, tell us a little more about what your school is doing. I'm sure lots of great stuff.
Yeah, sure, sir. Yeah, sure. Since the lockdown thing started, we switched on to online classes, and it was really a challenging experience. But sir, you will be pleased to know that it has given us very fruitful results. The students are enjoying, and our teachers are experimenting new things every day, from starting from the pre-primary wing to the senior wing. Every day we are trying the new things. And what I have learned from you now is, rather I would say relearned, is like it is a teacher who has to work upon herself or himself. Like, rather than expecting more from the students, we need to expect more from ourselves. We need to increase our efforts. So I want to ask one question, sir. Besides putting in so many efforts, sometimes we feel that, like, out of the class of 40, just 10 or 20 come with the work given on the work, given on any day, any project work. So how to encourage the students to, willingly participate?
Vivek, you want to do that? I'll then give some
so
comments.
basically the students can also be counseled one-to-one. What happens as a group? Often it becomes the child hides behind others in a class, or online he doesn't appear. So the child is obviously undergoing some kind of evasive kind of tendencies. So perhaps your counselors will have to talk to such children one-to-one, or their parents. Another thing is to engage that child in an area of that child's interest. Maybe that child, you have to identify these 3 children are more interested in this particular subject. So that teacher gets more involved with them. The others, we know that they are not that interested. So we try and involve them in the class through engagement. I am telling you that if the interaction is a little more active, you start asking them questions by name, or encouraging the children, okay, very well done, Vishal, or whatever it is, then that really naming the student and talking to them will help. We do a lot of webinars with students also. I have done a few with students where, just seeing their name and asking that question, getting that child to talk will make a lot of difference.
And I think the challenge, Deepti ma'am, is the same offline or online. Even online, even in the classroom, we know that many students don't do the assignments and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it gets tougher. One of the things that we are doing, Vivek, also is we're trying to do a lot more group activities rather than, so you can create groups inside your, I don't know whether you guys know how to do that, but within Zoom, you can actually create groups, you can create group rooms. So typically peer pressure learning or peer learning is way superior than individual learning. So we are experimenting with that. And of course, then students put in that effort, Vivek, unless it's also happened to us, the whole group decided not to submit. So that can also happen. I spoke about creating communities. I think ensuring that student to student engagement is happening, parent to student engagement is happening, I
May I
think is
interrupt
very,
you
very
here,
critical.
sir?
Go ahead, Deepti, ma'am.
Yeah, so my question is, like, you're talking about the group activities. We also thought of doing some group activities. Is it safe enough for the students? I hope they do not use the groups other way. You have used it, kindly guide.
Yeah, so I think you need secure platforms if you're talking about use them in other ways, right? So one of the things and they're all adults in this, but hopefully you are using the right technologies. If you haven't invested in those, I'll give a small example. My school in Solon, there was in the 7th grade lecture, someone played a porn clip, and this was everyone in the town is talking about it, and these things can happen. So as a school, you need to invest in that learning management system. You need to make sure that only your students are entering the classroom. So it's a small investment that all of you will have to do in terms of not just using openware, which you're using right now, but integrated platforms. So one of the things we are doing, for example, is only students through their biometric can enter a class just like they do in the classroom. There's an automatic, and these are all available. So the class, of course, is now online, it's not offline. And then we are including quizzes in between. So for example, after this 10 minutes, I'll say, okay, guys, let's do a quick one question. And there are proctoring tools for that. So the question comes, and you can play a game like Kaun Banega Crorepati, right? So you can give a question, and then you can also show how many people got it right, wrong on the screen. Those type of tools are available. And then you can, with the push of a button, that quiz actually becomes part of the grade sheet of the student also. So I think for the school, investing in the right technology is critical. But if the student knows that he can't hide behind an anonymous name, which can happen. For example, in this particular case, there's someone anonymous attendee, that's the name over here, right? I don't know who he or she is, but the objective over here is not to control. The objective over here was to invite everyone who can. And by the way, we're doing a webinar. We're not doing a meeting, because in a meeting, Vivek, I've also had challenges. We were doing an interaction, and it's called Zoom bombing now. There are people who are doing Zoom bombing. So someone came and created some challenges. So invest in that, I would say, in that technology, ma'am. That's one. And I think we should trust our students too. The more we trust them, typically they deliver. And trust me, university students are also not, they're also quite childish and quite badmash, if that's the word. So their minds are always thinking about hack kaise kiya jaye system. So let them, chota mota karte hain to karne do, let them have fun.
Yeah.
I think
Thank
that's
you,
okay.
sir. Thank you.
Another tip I have, Atul, is that perhaps each teacher should identify 2 or 3 bright students in the class. And those students should be asked to prepare a topic and speak, for 5 minutes, 4 minutes, especially class 8, class 9, class 10, even class 7 and 6, I don't know. Perhaps the children will be more attentive, and they will be more, participative, and they will perhaps await their turn. So the teacher's job online, if it's seeming that the teacher speaking for 30 minutes becomes too much, get in a couple of students to do part of the teaching by preparing that topic and
Great idea.
involving them a little more.
Yeah. I think there are a couple of questions. Omkar, ma'am is asking that it's actually very tough. No, actually, Bhavna ma'am is saying that it's very stressful for teachers. Absolutely agree. So, like I said, 20 minutes per lecture, not more than 4 lectures per student. So, and that will also decrease the load on. So if you were earlier teaching, I don't know how many, let's say 8 periods in a day, decrease them to 4, 20 minutes each. But try to give much more asynchronous projects, give them projects that they go back and do. How can you, like I said, you need an LMS, a learning management system, where students, Onkar ma'am, load their assignments. That's how you track assignments. So what you have right now is probably you're doing stuff on WhatsApp and rudimentary technologies. Technology should help you actually to make sure that all this basic stuff is is taken care of. So separately, Shikha, you should reach out to Deepti ma'am, and possibly we can do a small demo on how it can be done and how we can help the school. But technology should help you in all the basic stuff. You should like grading. You can do multiple choice questions. It's just, you don't even have to grade anymore. It's seamless. It's automatic. Proctoring tools ensure that cheating doesn't happen, ma'am. So you can freeze the screen. You can make sure that if the school student is looking left and right, they can't cheat anymore. So lots of exciting stuff happening on technology. So I think all of that we can share with you. So Shika, I'll request you to separately reach out to Deepti ma'am, and we can do those discussions.
Okay.
So it's not easy. I think we're all learning. Bhavna ma'am, I can only say it will become fun for teachers if they see it as something different. If they see the same thing online karna hai to, then I think it becomes mundane. So Vivek and I, for example, talk every day and say, okay, our next webinar, how do we improve? It's so exciting, to see yourself in a recorded format. We look at how many likes we got, so you can track all of those exciting things, right? So there's a question: what if the net is not very good? So Surinder, again, if you have a quality LMS, then every lecture one is live, but it should also be recorded. Like we're recording this one, you can go back and you can look at the lecture. So a learning management system is where a student can. By the way, Geo has also got a platform on LMSs, so you might want to talk to or look at Geo Education. They have free LMSs now. Or you can piggyback on what we have, Deepti ma'am. So the point is, a lecture, 20-minute lecture that you're giving also becomes asynchronous because it's also recorded. It's sitting on the LMS. And if a student's internet connection goes bad, then he and she can go back and look at that lecture whenever the internet becomes stable. I think it should be less of a problem for you in Chandigarh, but think about our university students are from all over the place, Vivek, from Gaons and from Northeast, from Jammu, where there's an internet problem. And we've been able to solve it quite well. Yeah, at Children and only I'm saying, Surinder, Soni ma'am, children can watch the video anytime. So, for as far as you are concerned, you need to make sure that you have a fiber with you. That's the only way that your internet is going to be stable. One of the things I've also done is I bought a small UPS, Vivek, so that if electricity goes, which I've learned, then, at least for that lecture, the electricity is there. So you'll have to invest in that toolkit, I would say, Deepti ma'am, and all the teachers. It's important. If a carpenter can, like I started by saying, if a carpenter can invest in his randa and his saw, there's no reason why a teacher should not. So that'll be my thought. I think we're coming a little to an end, Vivek.
We have one more question in Q&A.
That's right. That's right. How to conduct online exam with assurance that students don't cheat? Very good question, Tarundeep ma'am. These are called proctoring solutions or instruction solutions. These solutions are available in the market. We have them, as I showed in the video. Again, very happy to talk separately with Deepti ma'am and the school. So what you basically do is you freeze the screen of the student, which means the student can't toggle between screens, can't go to Google. So that's the first thing you do. The second thing you do is you have AI to make sure that if the student's looking left or right or down, it picks it up. So if I'm actually have a phone in my hand and I'm Googling, then I can, the camera picks it up. There is also an online invigilator. So you're seeing all the students who are actually taking exams. It also picks up sound. For example, if someone is whispering, it'll pick it up and say, and you can warn the student and say, okay, I'm warning you, please don't look left, don't look right. So it's actually a very sophisticated tool which is available. Again, happy to demonstrate that to you, but I'm not sure it's probably more sophisticated than a real-time invigilator. So even platforms like SAT, the Scholastic Aptitude Test, which is the most sought after test for college admission in the US, Vivek, have now gone online on the test. You can take SAT from home using their proctoring tools. So that was, I think, the question and the answer. So yeah, Tripti ma'am is saying in Punjab, light is always an issue. So we got our Wi-Fi connected with an inverter.
Yeah,
Absolutely, ma'am. So you guys are already there, right? I mean,
that's what is needed.
so wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Vivek, last thoughts from your end?
I think the last thoughts are that we should not be scared of this new arrangement that we have to make. Some people are doing better than others. So if somebody is doing better than you better upscale your skills. Atul rightly said, upscale your infrastructure and basic toolkit, and also just be positive about it. Since it is there and we have to live with it for a while, be positive. Don't look at it as a pain. So your attitude also matters. The performance will improve with your attitude. Take it as if it's an exciting thing to do, and then you look forward to it and you do better. Half your energy is there, you won't do it as well as if your full energy is on it. So go ahead with that.
So well said, Vivek. I try to look at the number of likes I have, and I keep experimenting with how to get the lectures better and better. And Vivek has been doing some amazing stuff too. Deepthi ma'am, last thoughts from your end before we call it a day.
Yeah, sir. It was really great listening to you. And we have, our inspirations have been doubled after listening to you. Especially like I'm really thinking at the back end of my mind, like what next? What new should I adopt now to encourage my children? And I'm sure all the teachers sitting there must be planning about such things. Thank you so much. And it will be, pleasure for us if we get a chance to listen to you again. Thank you so much, sir.
Absolutely. My last thoughts would be Hakuna Matata. Don't worry, be happy. Corona will go away. I think happiness is more important. There's a topic that Vivek and I speak on, which is happiness. And we always say happy people are successful. Successful people need not be happy. So I think it's true for teachers. It's definitely true for our students. So let's spread happiness and make sure we make the best out of these difficult times. My last thought, Vivek, is please be very, very, very careful. I strongly, strongly request all of you. Corona is hitting normal people. I mentioned it yesterday also, but a very dear friend of mine and my classmate from IIT Kanpur died 2 days back from Corona. The guy was an IS officer from Patna. So it's not as if he didn't have the means. Corona can hit anyone. So again, request, keep your children, yourselves, your parents safe. Don't venture out too much. Use the mask and wash your hands, as we always say. So with that grim note, Vivek, you want to tell the Einstein joke before we call it a day?
Okay. I think I'll take 3 minutes on that. So I've got 3 minutes to go. So Einstein was lecturing in the US and he went to various universities on the theory of relativity. And he would go and deliver this lecture in the hall, not online, of course, at that time. Even Einstein couldn't have a webcam and an internet connection in 1920. So he went around and he spoke so well. The driver was the same. He would take him to one place, another place, and he would listen to the lecture sitting at the back of the hall, the driver. And after 24 towns, the driver finally speaks in the car to Einstein. He says, "Sir, I've heard your lecture 24 times. I think even I can deliver this lecture now." So Einstein is very surprised, thrilled. He's an interesting, creative man. He says, "Fine, they don't know how I look. I become the driver. You become Einstein. You sit at the back, and we'll drive into this new town, and you can deliver the lecture." So the driver is received with all the fanfare and taken to the stage, and Einstein goes and sits at the back like the driver, and there we have the lecture. So Einstein's driver delivers a perfect, flawless, completely perfect lecture without any mistake. And everybody cheers, everybody claps. Einstein is the happiest. He claps the loudest from the back of the hall, like the driver. And the professor sitting in the front row gets up to ask a question, like normally happens at the end. And that question is very complicated. And the driver looks at him and he looks at the hall and he says, "Professor, your question is very, very simple. Even my driver can answer this question." So now the driver, we know who the driver was. So the rest is history. I think I took only 1.5 minutes, Atul.
Absolutely. You're getting better at it, Vivek. You're getting better at your jokes too. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And lots of you are saying thank you. We appreciate Jyoti ma'am, Meenakshi, Adita, all of you. So lovely talking to all of you. Thank you. And Shikha, you might want to reach out to Deepti ma'am separately. Have a great day. Good luck.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you all.
Very nice meeting you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.